We've got the upperclassmen picking on the lowerclassmen. Well, that's what it should be anyway, but let's find out what actually happens. I'm Tim Johnson. You're watching Shop Tool Reviews. In the past couple of weeks, if you follow us, then you know we reviewed the new RIDGID 18-volt brushless R86012, and it's their mid-torque impact wrench, half-inch anvil. We also have here the RYOBI P262 mid-torque and the Snap-On CT9015, which is their half-inch brushless impact wrench or mid-torque impact wrench as well. Now, the numbers don't all line up with these guys. In fact, Snap-on only sets this at like 300 foot-pounds of nut busting or bolt removal torque and 250 or 245 of tightening torque. Now, on the RYOBI, I think that's at like 600 foot-pounds of nut busting or loosening torque. And the RIDGID is, I think, 650 foot-pounds of loosening torque, and I think 500 tightening and 500 tightening on the RYOBI. But anyway, 650, 600, and 3 and change for the Snap-on is what the marketing claims are. Now, we know those figures don't always mean much, so let's go ahead. We'll talk about some of the features on this, then we'll dive right into putting them head-to-head on the torque rig or on the test rig, and then we'll come back and talk about our findings as well as pricing, warranty on these each as well. Let's get started. All right, if you're wondering why in the world we would be comparing these impact wrenches, I'm wondering the same thing. But here we are. So we've got the Snap-on, which is arguably the most expensive impact wrench out there. Then we have the RIDGID and RYOBI, which are probably down near the bottom of the cheapest impact wrenches. And let's get specific. These are the mid-torque impact wrenches. Of course, not every one, but again, comparing the RYOBI, the RIDGID, and the Snap-on. Now, I'm not going to get super detailed in the features just because we've reviewed each one of these impact wrenches. We'll have a link in the description for each of these. So if you want to dive into the specifics of each one of these, we'll have a link there where you can do so. But I do want to do some comparisons of size, weight, some generalities on these, and then we'll get right over to the test bench and actually test these head-to-head and see which one of them, kind of ranks as far as power and how far each one of them can push the limits, if you will. All of these are running 18-volt batteries as their power source. All of them have brushless motors. All of them have variable speed triggers. All of them have an LED of some sort. This one right here below the base of the impact or below the anvil. The RIDGID shining up from the bottom here, and the RYOBI having the triple LED around the anvil, which I think that's the best bet right there, is that right around the fastener or the socket until you get a socket that's bigger than the circumference of the lights, and then you're covering up those lights. Anyway, regardless, you're not buying a flashlight, you're buying an impact wrench. Couple of the differences between the Snap-on and the RIDGID and RYOBI. The Snap-on is just 3 forward speeds, 3 reverse speeds, power modes, if you will. They sequentially get stronger, so you get speed 1 is going to be the least amount of power, speed 2 is in the middle, and speed 3 is going to be your top. And you can see that by here on the back of the tool. You have to hit the trigger to actually activate it, and then you can see the 3 green lights. That tells us it's in reverse. You're taking something off. And if I switch, which this is pretty cool, if I switch the directional lever right here, then that switches the impact wrench into tighten, and then you see the red light. So that is a pretty cool feature there. And then you hit this little blister button, which I hate this little blister button because it's so hard to press. And you can switch from speed 1, 2, and 3. And again, that's going to progressively get stronger as you go. Now, on the RIDGID and RYOBI, these both have 4 modes. So you basically get your 3 power modes, and then you get an auto mode, which we will show you the auto mode here in a few moments. So 1's going to be your weakest, 2 is going to be in the middle, and 3 is going to be your strongest setting. Auto is going to use that strongest setting sometimes as well, and again, we'll go over it. Same thing with the RYOBI here. We have 3 speeds and then the A for auto mode, which is going to help us in tightening and loosening fasteners and not running them off too far nor tightening them too far. Now, as far as height on these, I mean, these things are very close in height, and I would almost call it identical. I mean, there's really not a lot of difference between them. I mentioned they're all running 18-volt batteries. We have a 5 amp hour on the Snap-On, a 4 amp hour on the RIDGID, and a 4 amp hour on the RYOBI. So RYOBI and RIDGID, a little bit smaller capacity battery, and the Snap-On with the 5 amp hour, but otherwise pretty close batteries, definitely in voltage. They're all 18 volts. And you can see the height there. I mean, I'm not even going to measure between the two or between the three because they're so close, but they're right at 10¼ inches with the battery on overall height. Now, you will notice there is a substantial difference in the width or the body of these tools. It looks like the RYOBI is probably the widest, then the RIDGID, and then the Snap-On's definitely got the slimmest body of the tool. And let's just take a look right here. And let's get on the widest part there. So 2.83 inches, and the RIDGID 2.95 inches, and the RYOBI a little over 3. So you're going from 2.85 to a little over 3 inches. So a difference of about 15 thousandths of an inch between the Snap-On and the RYOBI. So the Snap-On is definitely the slimmest as far as overall length. I think that's wider than my, there we go. Overall length, you're looking right at 7¼ inches on the RYOBI. And I think they're all pretty close. Yeah, right at 7 inches for the Snap-On, and right at 7 inches for the RIDGID as well. We can get a better idea like this. So we can see the RYOBI is a bit taller, but then the RIDGID and the Snap-On are right there, almost identical as far as height from tip to tail. And that RYOBI looks like it's got about 3/8 of an inch longer than the other two. And again, a little more width or a little more bulk here right through the bulk of the tool or through the motor of the tool. All of them have decent rubber overmolding here in the handle. It's going to be comfortable to hold, decent ergonomics. And then as far as length of the battery, looks like the RYOBI is a little bit longer in the battery as well. So definitely the longest is in the RYOBI, and the RIDGID and Snap-On are right there about the same size. Now let's get a weight on these quickly, and we'll weigh them with the battery since this is the way they're all kitted anyway. Obviously you could choose whatever battery you want. I don't think you have a lot of options for the Snap-On. So we're zeroed out. The RYOBI, 5 pounds 4 ounces. Snap-On, 4 pounds 15 ounces. And the RIDGID, 5 pounds 3.5 ounces. So it looks like the RIDGID and the RYOBI are right at 5 pounds 4 ounces and just under 5 pounds for the Snap-On. So you're saving about a few ounces, 4 or 5 ounces with the Snap-On. So that's going to be your lightest, but otherwise pretty close, right at the 5 pound range. Now let's talk about model numbers. The Snap-On is the CT9015 or the CT9015, and that is the 1/2 inch mid-torque impact wrench. So this is meant to be their kind of mid-range impact wrench. They state 1,760 RPM for the tool, and they don't list the impacts per minute, and you get a 2-year warranty with this. With the RYOBI, you're looking at 2,800 RPM and 3,200 impacts per minute, and you get a 3-year warranty. And then the RIDGID, by the way, the RYOBI model number is the P262, and the RIDGID is the R86012, and that's going to have, I believe it's 2,800 RPM and 3,800 impacts per minute. Now let's go over and test these. Okay, here we are on the test rig. Let's go ahead and get started. What I wanted to show very first out of the gate, just to get it out of the way, are the two things that the RYOBI and the RIDGID have that the Snap-On does not. As we mentioned, the Snap-On is a 3-mode gun, or has power modes 1, 2, and 3. The RYOBI and the RIDGID have an additional 4th mode, which they call their auto mode, and I'll show you that really quick on the RYOBI. So we're going to go into A for auto, and we'll grab our socket. So first we're going to go into Tighten. So we're in Tighten in the auto mode, And we've got this loose fastener here. Going to hold the trigger down, and you see the tool actually stop. So my finger is still depressing the trigger. I'll do that one more time right here. It'll run it all the way on, and as soon as it senses that the fastener is snug, it will shut the tool down. Finger is still in the trigger, so that's what the auto mode does. Now, when I go into reverse and I go to loosen it, as soon as it senses that it's loose, again, my finger is still in the trigger. Do that one more time in the loosen mode in auto. As soon as it breaks it free, it shuts the tool down. Now we'll switch over here to the rigid. We'll go in auto mode here, and we'll ensure we're in reverse, and we are. Well, let's go to tighten first because we've got these loosened fasteners. And again, I'm going to hold my finger on the trigger. As soon as it snugs up the fastener, it shuts the tool down. We'll do it one more time. That's in tighten. We'll go to loosen. Once it breaks free, it shuts the tool down. So same thing, shuts the tool down, finger still on the trigger. So that's what that auto mode does. Let's say taking off lug nuts, things like that. Instead of flinging those across the shop, it's going to actually stop the tool to keep you from slinging it across the shop. Also tightening, it'll keep you from over tightening. You can come back with your lug or your torque wrench and actually torque those fasteners. So that's what that additional fourth mode, that auto mode does, but the Snap-on does not have that. That's just got the three sequential power modes. Now let's get started in our torque testing. Let's run these back on here. So to get started, we will start at 150 foot-pounds. So I have these first three torqued to 150. I'm going to start in power mode 1. We're going to go into mode 1 and just see if this will break free at 150 foot-pounds. Okay, would not do 150 in mode 1. Let's go with the RYOBI. And we'll go into mode 1, 150 foot-pounds. Nothing there either. Now we'll go to the rigid. Mode 1, 150 foot-pounds. Okay, so we always give it 10 seconds to break it free. On the 10th second, it was moving that, so I went ahead and gave it to that. So in mode 1, these are less than 150 foot-pounds other than the rigid, and it looks like we're right there at the cap for that. Just wanted to show you how strong we're talking about when we're talking about mode 1 on these impact wrenches. So Snap-on would not do it, the RYOBI would not do it, the rigid did break this free at 150 foot-pounds. Okay, now we've torqued these to 200 foot-pounds, except this fourth one I have torqued at 250, so we can all go ahead and get started on the next series. I'm going to go to mode 2. So we're going to go into power mode 2 and just see if at 200 foot-pounds, mode 2 will do this. And here we go. Okay, so mode 2 will not break free 250 foot-pounds. Now, to make sure that we're kind of on the right track here, I'm going to go ahead and go into mode 3. So we're in the highest power mode for the Snap-on at 250 foot-pounds. Okay, so took care of that. So on mode 3, now we're going to go back to the RYOBI in mode 2 at, I'm sorry, this is at 200 foot-pounds. 200 foot-pounds, 200 foot-pounds on the Snap-on, 200 foot-pounds on the RYOBI. We did it in mode 3 with the Snap-on. We're in mode 2 with the RYOBI, and here we go. So no problem, 200 foot-pounds in mode 2 with the RYOBI, breaks it free without a problem. And then we'll go to mode 2 with the RIDGID. Not a problem there either at 200 foot-pounds. Now we'll go ahead with 250 on the Snap-On. Okay, so it was starting to move it at the 10th second, so we went ahead and let it finish, but it struggled to break free that 250 foot-pounds. Okay, so now we're still on 250 for the RYOBI and the RIDGID. We're also still on speed 2 with the RYOBI and the RIDGID. 250 foot-pounds, speed 2. No problem there. Speed 2, 250 foot-pounds for the RIDGID. No problem there either. Now jumping to 300 foot-pounds for the Snap-On, and we're in max mode, power mode 3, loosen, and here we go. We're going to give that the benefit of the doubt that it was moving at 10 seconds. I wasn't sure whether it was or not. We're going to go ahead and give it that 300, but definitely took that full 10 seconds to get it moving on the 300 foot-pounds for the Snap-On, and that's in max torque mode. Now let's go back to the RYOBI. And again, we're just in mode 2 at 300 foot-pounds. So right at 10 seconds started moving it, so I think we've kind of reached our peak in mode 2 for the RYOBI. Okay, now we're with the RIDGID. We still need to be in mode 2 just to see if it will break free 300 foot-pounds in mode 2. Not a problem at all. So we're still in mode 2 on the RIDGID. Let's go back to the Snap-On. Again, we're in high power mode in mode 3, and now we're at 350 foot-pounds. Again, that's way over 10 seconds, not budging it, so definitely no 350. Going to give 300 foot-pounds to the Snap-On. Going to go back to the RYOBI. Now we're going to go to speed 3 since it had such a struggle last time at 300. So now we're at 350 foot-pounds with the RYOBI in high power mode. Not a problem at all. Now 350 foot-pounds for the RIDGID. And by the way, so it looks like that I loosened the nut that we'd already started with the Snap-On and it didn't make it. So I'm going to redo the RYOBI just so we don't have anybody whining that it wasn't a fresh one. So this one's fresh, 350 foot-pounds. The RYOBI again in high speed mode. 600. $600 for the rigid. $650. Well, over and over again, we've proven that the Snap-On, as far as a performer, is not that great. Not unless you're looking at something that's real low performing, like 200 something foot-pounds, because even out of the gate at 150 foot-pounds, it really struggles. I shouldn't say struggles. It takes quite a bit of time to loosen the fastener, where the RYOBI and the RIDGID just kind of busted off right away. So for a mid-torque, it's kind of struggling to get out of the gate. And then it maxed out right at around a little over 300 foot-pounds. It broke away 300 foot-pounds, but would not do 350, where the RIDGID was doing 350, I think, still in mode 1 or something, or maybe mode 2. But as far as the RYOBI and RIDGID, right up there at 600 foot-pounds. Now the RIDGID, we did not break free the 650 foot-pounds, even after leaving it on there for 10 seconds. Now when we tested this, right at the 10th second, during our review, it broke free the 650. So right at that 650 is the limit on this, which is where they set the number, which is pretty good. So I don't know why we couldn't break it free this time, but hey, we're being honest with you that we couldn't break it free this time. Last time we did, and we did it multiple times last time. So I think we're right there at that threshold limit with the RIDGID at 650, 600 at the RYOBI, and the Snap-On is somewhere around that 300 mark. So why would you go out and buy a tool like this, which the kit with this, with two 5 amp hour batteries, is going to cost you $855. Alone, I think it's somewhere around $365 for a bare tool with no battery whatsoever, where the RYOBI you can buy at $159 for the, or I think $169 for the bare tool. I think $199 for the bare tool on the RIDGID, but you can get a kit with the RIDGID and one battery and a charger for $269 and $259 for one battery and a charger on the RYOBI. Getting a 3-year warranty with the RYOBI, getting a lifetime service agreement with the RIDGID as long as you register the tool within 90 days, and with the Snap-On, you're getting a 2-year warranty. So let me talk to you entry-level techs. If you're entering the mechanics field, the mechanics industry, stay off the Snap-On truck when it comes to your power tools. Listen, a lot of their hand tools are awesome, and buy the things that are going to make you money, but when it comes to spending $900 on a mid-torque impact wrench, there are other items that are available for you that are going to perform not only as good, but much better, and will arguably last you as long as well. But even if they don't, you're able to make some money with them and move up as you want to. There's a lot of other brands that are in between these 3 guns as well. So hey, check it out. Also keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you don't mind, would you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already? And by all means, if you hated our video, then give us a thumbs down and let us know in the comments why. We're looking forward to it. Have a great day.